Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of my educational series. This week, I am delighted to be welcoming Miss Courtney Jared Bannan. Miss Bannan has over 20 years of experience as a transactional and litigation attorney. And after working as a managing attorney in civil litigation, she started her own law firm. Miss Bannan has a specialized Juris Doctor degree with concentration in international and comparative law, and over the course of her long career, she has basically practiced in every single area of business and finance, ranging from corporate governance and intellectual property to complex commercial real estate transactions and corporate finance law. Miss Bannan has been an adjunct professor of law at the Nova Southwestern University in Florida since 2010. She is barred in the Supreme Court of Florida, the United States District Court for the Northern, Southern, and Middle District of the District of Florida, and in the United States Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit. Miss Bannan is a published author and contributor to many publications nationwide. She's also a tech entrepreneur and founder of Describe, which is basically an AI-fueled machine learning platform, enabling the user to quote-unquote describe themselves into a valid and legally binding contract in their jurisdiction. Her knowledge of law, coupled with her business acumen, have helped many businesses grow and thrive in South Florida. Now, what are you going to actually see in this interview? This interview is basically the blueprint of Miss Bannan's career, compresses her 2-decade-long career into lessons and advice for best law practices, how to identify entrepreneurship opportunities in the law industry, and how to take advantage of them. Plus how the Cardone Capital and Cardone Enterprises have molded themselves not only into a real estate and marketing leader, but also into a firm where people love to perform and consider it as family. All those insights are going to be offered under the umbrella of providing advice towards the young aspiring legal professionals envisioning of having an impactful career in the industry. Thank you, Ms. Bannan, for your approachability and kindness in allocating your time to reflect upon your journey, share your expertise, all to educate and inspire the younger generation of professionals.
And a good communicator has subcategories of kindness, awareness, self-awareness, and patience.
I want to ask, how basically did you and your team utilize that company's model of allowing regular investors to come in, everyday investors, to your advantage to win business? How did you utilize that, leverage that?
We didn't.
You didn't?
That's the beauty of it. Nope, we didn't.
I would like you to tell me the top qualities for future lawyers. What qualities should they have to excel?
Oh, I love that. Number one, ethics. You have to be in it for the right reason. You have to understand at all times that you have a person coming to you who has a problem and they're looking to you to fix it, not to make it worse.
Hello, Ms. Bannan.
How are you?
I am great. How are you doing? Nice to meet you finally.
Wonderful, thank you.
So how are you doing, first of all? I'm
really
sure
good.
You've had a long day.
Yes.
Okay, so
I did.
I will try to make this like half an hour, not so tiring. It's going to be like a sort of style like discussion, freestyle discussion. It's not going to be, there's not going to be any like catchy questions or any traps or nothing like that. It's just a reflection on your journey. That's basically it.
I'm good at catching the tricky questions, don't worry.
Oh, great. So first of all, I want to sincerely thank you for doing this. I mean, like it sincerely means a lot to me and to the young aspiring individuals, like the students who are watching these interviews. It means a lot. Thank you.
My pleasure.
So what I want to do is I want to take you back to 2003 when you graduated the Albany Law School. That's a very tricky period for every student who graduates. And I want to ask you to tell me about the trajectory of your career, where you wanted to go, and what drew you into obtaining a Juris Doctor degree in International and Comparative Law. That's my first question.
So this is interesting because my law school journey is quite a story in itself. So I actually started out before law school. I was a writer, and I did like journalism and some, other types of writing. I did health and science writing. I worked for a company called Reuters, who publishes a lot of educational publications. And I got pregnant right after I started that with my first child, a boy. And I went back to work, and I lasted about 2 hours. I missed the baby so much. So I left. I got up and I said, I can't do this. I need to be with my baby. I got up, I went home, and all he did was sleep, ate and smile. He was the easiest baby. And I was so bored. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to apply to law school. So while my baby slept and I tried to wake him up all the time, I thought, what am I doing with my life? I'm here, I'm with my child, but is he ever going to be proud of me? What am I doing with myself? I'm literally sitting here watching somebody sleep. And for the few hours that he's awake, I want to be there for him. But while he's sleeping, I've got to do something. So when I graduated law school, I was really wanting to help people. And I chose the international and comparative law path because I wanted to practice international human rights. That was really important to me. And I was fascinated by all the things in this world that are there's so much turmoil over things that people can't control, like race, religion, gender. And I wanted to really forge forward with particularly women's rights and and things that were kind of universal. I didn't want to just, I didn't want to become a lawyer to chase ambulances and do personal injury and stuff like that. I wanted to do something that made a difference. And in law school, I wrote a paper on feministic international criminal law and the big events that have happened since World War I through up to like Bosnia, Herzegovina, and the turmoil that we had there to show the differences in how people are treated and how we have race-based, gender-based, and religion-based bigotry really around the world, but how different places have people that don't look like us, so we don't take it as seriously, like when the Hutus and the Tutsis were fighting and they had one of the most raging genocide events, but it's not on the news here in the States because people aren't paying attention to it. But when things happened with, Bosnia, everybody was on top of it because they look like us. So I also wanted to write about that. And then when I graduated, I wanted to work and do constitutional. Are you still there?
Yeah, still here. Yeah.
Are you still there? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was so weird. The whole thing just went black. So, but then I found it was really hard to get a job, doing constitutional law for somebody that looked like me. I just looked like this, basic white American. And it was really difficult for me to find a position that I could, take all of this knowledge. I just studied for 3 years with international and comparative law and apply that somewhere. And then I discovered international business, which is another passion of mine. My undergraduate degree is in business and finance. And I did a specialty in international business and transactions, and how there are so many things in this world that actually translate to international law that people don't think of, like trademarks and copyrights and piracy and data collection. There are so many interesting things that actually fall under that penumbra of international law. And I was so excited by that. I thought, okay, so I didn't waste, an extra year of my life taking extra credits to do international law and not have anything to show for it. And I discovered this whole world of what really is international law. And that was so exciting for me. But I knew I wanted to do something that was global, because to me, you go through law school for 3 years and then you just have this little narrow practice area of like personal injury in the state of Florida. Woo, it's just not exciting. There's a whole world out there. And now, especially with the internet and the global marketplaces, I did the right thing because, back when I was in law school, the World Wide Web was still kind of a new thing. And I don't think people had realized yet that the whole world was becoming homogenized by the internet. And, I don't have to fly to Maine to have Maine lobster, and I don't have to go to Paris to get a good baguette. I can have it shipped. I can pretty much do anything I want. And it's just so exciting because really all law is now international law. So people who don't have that perspective are missing out on these amazing things. Like a couple weeks ago, we were hiring an independent contractor who's based in Morocco. And I said, well, wait a minute. I know a thing or two about this. Employment law in Morocco is a little bit different with independent contractors because we would actually be liable to pay for paternity leave and this, that, and the other. So they're not really an independent contractor. So let's do a purchase and sale agreement where we're purchasing his content from him. That way we can pay him more money. But, in the long run, the company won't have to pay workers' compensation, sick leave, and all the other things that are required under Moroccan law. So I think it's really important that for anyone in law school to take as many international classes as they can. I took Caribbean law. I took, you name it, whatever I could get my hands on, I took it because now in the world, everything is international law all of a sudden. And I love that. So for students who are looking to get into international and comparative law, they're already 10 steps ahead of every other lawyer out there because everything is international commerce. If I have a transaction, if I have an online store and I'm sitting here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and somebody from Germany purchases my product, do I know if my website is GDPR compliant? Do I understand the privacy and data collection laws over there? So e-commerce in itself is international law.
To put it very simply, it keeps you on your toes, okay? And for a student who wants to study, you're a multidisciplinary lawyer, okay?
Yes.
That's what you are. So for a student who weighs the drawbacks and the positives, the benefits of practicing international law, and you've done way more than that. If I start naming the fields you've been a lawyer into, we're gonna finish basically tomorrow. So what would you say? How should they weigh the benefits to the drawbacks of going after that or being specialized in law?
I actually don't really see any drawbacks at all. The more you learn, I think that international law translates and leaks into every area of law. So, even if you are going to practice in one particular area of law, most of those are going to fall under that umbrella of international law at one point. If you're going to do a trademark, if you're going to do copyrights, you can't just do them in the country that you live in because you're going to be selling it on the internet. So it's going to go everywhere. If you're going to sell products, are you selling them online? They're going to be sold worldwide. Business, you're going to definitely do transactions. If you're going to order products or you're a manufacturer, you're going to be dealing with China. Do you understand how the bills of lading work? Do you understand how the tariffs work? Do you understand how expensive it is to pay those tariffs? It translates into everything. So I think that if a student was going to weigh the benefits against the downside of taking that extra step for international law, because they think their area of law may not apply, then they should dig deep and write down all of the things in that area of law. So if somebody says, well, I just want to do business law. Okay, boom, international law. I want to practice in, constitutional rights in my country. Boom, international law, because those rights of those people, they might translate into, immigration law. You never know. There are very few areas of law that you don't use international law, such as personal injury, which, as you can see, is my least favorite. That and family law. I tried both of those and I lasted like an hour, and workers' compensation. Even here in the US, regulatory law, like Federal Trade Commission, guess what? Boom, international law. Even though they're only applying it to, things that are happening in this country, a lot of those entities that are, doing advertising and stuff that fall under that are international companies. So if you're going to have clients who are doing anything in commerce, business, marketing, trademark, that right there is going to fall under international law. And the more you know, the better you are.
And some students, or in general, lawyers, would ask about entrepreneurship. So you've been an entrepreneur yourself, you've had your own firm. And what I want to ask, I saw a comment from one of your clients. It says, it is refreshing to deal with the owner of the law firm as opposed to leaving messages with assistants and waiting for responses.
Yes.
And what I want to ask, especially on the initial steps of launching, supporting your own law firm as an owner, how important is it to have these face-to-face interactions with clients, and how realistic is it at the end of the day to do so? For how long can you do that?
I think it's absolutely the most important thing in the world. A lot of lawyers don't understand that we are a service. We are a service industry, and you have to be of service to your clients. And to this day, been practicing 20 years now, I still answer my own phone. My assistant does not do my typing or dial my phone. And I'm also a law professor. And one thing that I teach my students is don't get so full of yourself, no matter how much money you're making, that somebody has to dial your phone for you or get your coffee. Unless you're in a deposition and you can't get your lunch and somebody gets it for you, but don't make somebody be subservient to you. And when your client calls you, answer the phone, because they're paying you. Like if I sold that client and that client likes me and trusts me, I'm going to answer the phone when they call. And I still do. And I'm still an entrepreneur. I have an app that's coming out very soon, a legal app, which is going to be amazing. I have a couple of side businesses, and I answer my phone. I do all my own stuff, and I just make the time for it. And if there's a time where I'm so busy and I can't do something, then yes, I'm going to ask for help. But I think treating everybody in the world as an equal is probably one of the most important things you can do. And that translates into how you service your clients. Mm-hmm. And when I'm servicing a client, I want them to know they're the most important thing to me. If they ask me for a bottle of water, I'm going to bring them a napkin. I'm going to unscrew the top of the water for them. I'm going to hand it to them, and I'm going to make them feel comfortable and at home, because they're paying me to do something. I'm not that special. I might have specialized knowledge, but I'm not, some person that needs to have someone dial my phone. When I did one of my first online hearings, I remember the judge was on the phone, and some guy who had been practicing law for like 2 years actually had his assistant dial the judge for him, and then she put it on hold. So we heard his on hold music in the courtroom. Like it was going throughout the courtroom. I'm on the other line, and the judge cursed. The judge said, "Is this guy for effing real?" But he said the whole F word. And I thought, I will never be that person. That was the day that I really decided I'm always going to dial my own phone. I'm never going to be that person, because that is saying a lot about how you regard your staff, and that you think you're something a little bit different than you are. You are a human being with specialized knowledge, and you need to communicate that properly to your client. And the face-to-face part's really important, even if it's just via Zoom. Like, I'm communicating with you. I can see you smile. We're looking at each other. That's really important.
I mean, emotionality is huge in law.
Yes.
Like talking to another person, even the interaction we're having right now is emotional, because you can see me and you understand what I'm all about, and I can see you. Especially during COVID, I assume it was huge to have like intimacy with your clients. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's a family issue or it's corporate law, I assume. Am I right?
Yes.
Right. So you've also been a chief legal officer at Cardone Capital and its parent company,
yes.
the Cardone Enterprises. So
yes.
you're managing basically an ocean of units. It's almost 12,000, if I'm not mistaken. It's
yes.
a huge portfolio, over 4 billion USD. So what I want to ask is about the culture. And the culture is huge in a company. I believe that
Yes,
the team makes you or effectively does break you, as we say.
true.
So, what is the culture that you specifically have instilled within your team?
Well, the culture there is actually probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever worked. And it's so funny. I just said this to somebody yesterday. I said, this is the first place I've ever been, and I've been there over 5 years. This is the only place I've never had personal stress, ever. Not one day. I've never had a personal bad day. I've had hard work days. I've had work days where I've wanted to, throw things out the window. But I have the most amazing team around me. And when I want to throw things, so do they. And we laugh and we shake it off together. And that is absolutely the most important thing you can do in any company or law firm, is build a culture of like-minded people who are your compatriots, your contemporaries, your friends at work, because we spend more time at work than we do at home. Your work environment is actually affects your health more than anything in the world, stress, whatever. So working with people who can remind you it's just a job, it's just, an object, it's just a case, it's not your life, it's not your health. That's very elemental into having a healthy work-life balance. And I'm so
First of
fortunate.
all,
It's
I was
it's
not
it's beyond
in a million
incredible.
years anticipating that. I was not anticipating that. This is exactly what I want to hear from seasoned professionals, okay? What I'm seeing all around me is a huge rat race. People are running, running, running all the time. They just do work that they don't want to do. My friends they all want to go into consultancy, spend the rest of their days, weekends. I mean, this is going to happen, okay? You're going to work. But why not find yourself in a place where you can thrive and feel like your family? Like you're
Yeah.
friends with the CEO, you love his wife, you're going out, you're having dinners, he's so giving. That's heartwarming to hear, okay?
It's a really unusual environment, and I've never
Yeah.
really, well, I've worked in a few places that I've liked and I could tolerate and I enjoyed the work, but here I love the work. Every day is different. And I'm not just a CLO for Cardone Capital. I'm also CLO for Cardone Enterprises, which is
Hmm.
Cardone Training Technologies and all the other brands that we do. So I handle everything. Like when he was on Undercover Billionaire, I handled all of those contracts. I create companies for all the little things that we do. It's such a creative job, and I'm excited every day. Like I actually can't wait to go to work tomorrow because I'm going to draft something really unique for him. And it's terribly exciting to know that I can do all of these things. And when he travels, I said, oh, you know what? You're going to be there during Ramadan. You cannot drink in public. Don't do this, like, because I'm up on international law, and I'm really into studying different cultures and different religions, and like I love anything sociology. I love people, and I love seeing how people are created from their environments. I came from, like, my mom's Italian and my father is Irish, and
Hmm.
seeing like the disparity between the two families of how they act and how they actually are articulating the same ideas in such different ways that they don't know
Hmm.
how to communicate. So for me, communication is everything. So that's why I'm always so interested in, like, how did you end up like this? And how did this guy end up like this? And you're actually the same, and you both want the same things, but you're not communicating. So as a lawyer, I think communication is really important, because you have this guy over here who said this happened, and this guy who said this happened. And where are they not communicating? Where was that lack of communication? And as a lawyer, that's actually the most important thing. Like, what happened? It's not about me blindly fighting for a client who might be wrong. It's me saying, hey, dude, you messed up. You should have said this instead. So let's settle. It's about finding a graceful exit and a graceful resolution to what's actually transpiring. And I think when an attorney can sit back and look at the communication efforts between the parties and say, listen, you said you're going to sell them a bushel of apples, and you said green apples, but he's a red apple tree farm. So that's kind of your fault. You can't sue him because he didn't deliver you green apples. when you bought a bushel of apples from a red apple tree farm. So things like that. But instead, the lawyer on the other side, it's a billing event. People are greedy. And a lot of cases, especially here in the US, are all driven by attorneys who just want to bill their clients and have billing events and get awarded attorney's fees. It's become like an act of commerce instead of an act of justice. And that really breaks down the whole judicial system when we have, especially in the US, we're so litigious over everything, and clients are suing because their lawyer told them they have a case because the lawyer wants to get paid. The lawyer wants to bill, and the lawyer wants to make an award, for attorney, a motion for an award of attorney's fees. And that's a huge problem. So I think that, having the face-to-face with the client, especially on your initial intake, asking pointed questions and asking the same question 5 different ways because they will not answer it the same way. That's how you find the truth. So as a lawyer, communication and being a truth seeker are very important. And when I had my own law firm, I turned down more cases than I took. And people would be like, well, I just want to sue because I want my day in court. I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. You don't get your day in court. If you're mad at this guy, the court is not a weapon, it's a tool. I am not a weapon, I'm a tool. And I'm not going to let you do this. It's just crazy, but other lawyers will just take it because they want money. So, but when you learn how to say no to all of those bad cases, because they never end well, your client goes in there with, if you take a case because you want to bill, but the guy doesn't really have a case, guess what happens at the end when he doesn't win? He's pissed at you and he does not pay you. And he makes a bar complaint against you and he argues with you and he makes your life a living nightmare. Pardon my language. When you learn how to say no to those cases, then you get better quality cases and the people actually have problems. They will actually pay you and they won't question you and you're working with a quality person. So, having just like phone conversations, it's not enough.
What I want to ask is, let's say that we have a lawyer who's just starting up their career, okay? They don't have a set clientele, they're trying to win business. And what's the incentive of them trying to break away of this bloody red ocean of competition and trying to unethically win business? What should they do to organically build their clientele?
So the best thing they can do is try to team up with a more seasoned lawyer and say, listen, I'm a rainmaker. I'm going to bring in so much business and I want to work for myself, but I'm in an unfamiliar area of law. Will you work on it with me and share fees? That's a really good way to do it. Or let's say like I was a writer before law school. And when I first started out, I had no knowledge of anything but my industry. So if somebody has been in like the insurance industry for a long time, they can go out and they can win cases because they know that they know how the insurance industry works. But if you're completely green and you don't know that area of law, do not take the case unless you have somebody, a mentor that you can go to. Sometimes even just having a person that you can ask questions to, like, hey, I want to take this case and I want to learn, but I don't really know this industry. Can you help me? Can you review my pleadings? The issue is, are people going to give you the case if you don't have experience? Yes, the ones who don't want to pay you, they're going to pay you very little money, but that's okay because that's how you start out. And I would say start out with small things that are transactional, like review a contract, really start to learn contract. Like if you can pull apart a contract, that basically covers every single area of law because everything has a contract, almost everything. So I would say doing transactional things that are small and then having somebody review your work is important. Do not do litigation without experience. It never ends well. It's a very, very unique and specialized area. Doesn't matter how well you know the rules, knowing the statutes, the rules, the case law, and then how to apply them and analyze it is a very difficult thing that you really only learn from getting banged up as a lawyer through the years. What I did was I would go sit in the courthouse and I would watch, and that is really good thing to do. Sit in the courthouse, watch 50 hearings on motion calendar and watch the other lawyers, watch their style, watch how they bring up the case law, watch how they rebut arguments, watch how they bring in things like, the long arm statute, like there's no jurisdiction, or these are really good ways to learn. And I think if you watch motion calendar every day for 2 weeks, then that's the equivalent of doing one hearing on your own. So it's a really good way to do that. And then also making good friends with your law professors and telling them, hey, I want to start my own law practice right out of law school. And that's actually the class that I teach. I teach a class called Law Office Management, and I teach people how to start and build their own law firm. And in my class, I actually make them go through the whole process. I even make them fill out the papers for an LLC. I make them look for space. I make them do a budget. I file bar complaints against them. I send them letters like I'm a mad client. I give them different things to do, and they get an idea of what it's like to be out on your own as a solo.
So, to sum this up, I would like you to tell me the top qualities for future lawyers. What qualities should they have to excel?
Oh, I love that. Number one, ethics. You have to be in it for the right reason. And you have to understand at all times that you have a person coming to you who has a problem, and they're looking to you to fix it, not to make it worse. It's all about ethics. And a good communicator has subcategories of kindness, awareness, self-awareness, and patience. And if you don't have those things, you will not be a good lawyer. There are a lot of lawyers, especially here in the US, that are yelly mouth, screaming, angry, aggressive people. That's not my style. And I go up against people in court like that all the time. And I just wait and I wait. And then when they're done, they think they're done, but I'm still not talking. So then they start over again. And then they just start talking themselves in circles. It's a manipulation tactic that I like to use. And I just let them continue. And then when they've run out of things to say, I simply say, are you done? And then they say yes. And meanwhile, what I've done is I've gone back in my head for everything they said. And then I come out with like one sentence that I know that will zing and ruin their whole case. And that's how I win. So communication, very important. And that also, grace, always have grace. Always take the high road, even though it's so much fun to take the low road sometimes. I've taken it myself a few times, just when I'm like, you know what, I'm going to take this one. I'm taking the low road because I just want to jab this guy. And every single time I regret it. It was fun for the moment. And then afterwards, I'm like, oh God, that was so cringy. Why did I do that? You can't unring a bell. No matter what you want to say, even if it's like the best and funniest line and you know you're going to really zing this person, say it in your head and just smile and always walk away with grace and professionalism.
Ms. Bannan, I want to thank you. I sincerely thank you for allocating your valuable time talking to me. That's incredible advice, not just for law students. I believe that's for every single one who is going to watch this interview. Okay, this goes beyond the young audience.
Thank you. I love it. Thank you so much. And if you need anything else, don't hesitate to call me. And I'm here for you. Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
You too. Have a beautiful evening. Thank you.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.